Welcome to another highly questionable. I've got my research right here. She's written a lot of notes. This guy, as always, is going to be better than anybody by just winging it. Sarah, what do you like on the show today?
I like Poppy's shirt. He looks sharp.
Okay, that's not much of a tease. Dale, Poppy.
Did Aaron Rodgers' performance last night convince you that he can make a run with this band of misfits?
It's a band of misfits, and he would win 10 games if you put him on any team in the league. You put him on the Cardinals, you put him on the Bills. This guy is winning 10 games. That throw he made to tie that game. Look at this throw, and look at how close this defensive back, jumping at the height of his height, comes to touching this ball, doesn't touch it. Aaron Rodgers wins the game. It makes me wonder, though, if Mike McCarthy is actually helping him when I see that he keeps throwing to receivers who aren't open. This third down throw to Jimmy Graham, this is a crucial play in the game. He basically stuck it in his face mask. He's carrying everybody, and he will continue to carry them even if he's injured.
Well, that's a great answer if the question is, how good is Aaron Rodgers? And the answer to this question is one that I already had before last night's game. So I learned nothing about how good Aaron Rodgers is last night. I did learn that the 49ers are terrible at defense. When you've got a minute left and no timeouts, and all you got to do is keep the team from running out of bounds, and yet they keep running out of bounds to the point that they win a game, then that's about how bad your defense is and about how good Aaron Rodgers is. But we already knew that. We also know that this Packers team is terrible at defense too. So the question is, how far can Aaron Rodgers and this band of misfits go? And the answer is, you never underestimate Aaron Rodgers, but when your next games are the Rams, the Pats, the Dolphins, and the Seahawks, they could easily be 3-5-1 very soon, and that's not very good. So Aaron Rodgers, yes, you're amazing. Packers, you're not that good.
3-5-1, though. Aaron Rodgers, if he could get into the playoffs with that, every team in the league would fear him. Tell me at the end of that game that San Francisco wasn't going backwards because they knew that was going to happen to them. They spent the last 6 minutes of the game fearing what exactly happened to them.
Aaron Rodgers is basically the peak Tiger Woods of football, right? It's not just how good he is, it's what he does to the people that are opposite him in terms of how they change their actions based on the fear that he gives them. That's what we saw happen to the 49ers. But just because Aaron Rodgers is that good doesn't mean he's always going to be in a position with one drive to go to win the game. Not with a defense as bad as this Packers team.
I don't know. I think that he got a big break, buddy. I think that he got a big break on that sack when they called that penalty.
The Richard Sherman penalty.
That was the call of the game.
Yes.
They say, oh, that's Aaron Rodgers. We've got to help him out.
We got to help him out.
That's
we
right.
can't have the 49ers without Garoppolo advancing anywhere. We got to help him out.
Was John Mara out of line for his comments about Odell Beckham Jr.?
The Giants are going to be interesting, not as a football team, but as they spontaneously combust, because you have a huge generational and cultural difference between the starch people who run the New York Football Giants and the guy who does interviews with Lil Wayne next to him. Odell Beckham got his money, and now the owner of the Giants is saying, how about you play more and talk less? And that is just one exit ramp away from shut up and dribble. It is the kind of thing that if I were Odell Beckham, I'd be upset about, because you cannot question his effort. And he can talk as much as he likes because he is empowered by the guaranteed money that he has and the interviews that he can do, whether with LeBron James, on his own social media, wherever he wants. You can't shut the guy up and you can't shut the guy down.
Yeah, and those starch shirts that are on one side include Eli Manning and some of the old guard of this team. Unfortunately, they're getting squeezed out, and the majority of this Giants team is on the side of Odell Beckham Jr. And if he's the future of your team, then what do you hope to achieve by saying this if you're John Mara? Yeah, you're the owner. You can say whatever you want. But what's the goal here? Because this doesn't seem to me like it's going to make things any better for your team, particularly when you've got a frustrated wide receiver who would be playing better if you had an offensive line and a quarterback who could get it to him. And that's not to say that he's not at fault at all, but you certainly would be seeing better things out of OBJ if you as a team and Mara as an owner had decided to cut ties with Eli last year and move on. So if he wants to complain about that, he seems to be in the right.
But he's such a romantic. Look at with the Patriots. When the owner loves the quarterback, sometimes that can age well. Or sometimes your management team could bench the quarterback, and you could get mad at your management team and then fire them in order to keep Eli Manning as your quarterback. This guy is clearly in the Eli Manning camp because he's got 2 titles because of Eli Manning.
Oh, Bill, I got a solution for you. You got to run shorter routes, buddy. You cannot go deep with this guy. You should know that by now.
Right.
You got to
Right.
stay within 5, 6,
Right.
2 yards,
Right.
3
Bubble
yards.
screen,
Where
bubble
if you go
screen.
15, 20, 25, 30, you'll be there all by yourself.
He
because
doesn't
you'll
even
never
know
get
you
the ball.
exist.
That's right.
Yeah.
You know, he won't even see you. You know what I mean? He'll go like, who's that guy in the back there? I don't know. Is he one of ours?
No, I got a tight end right here.
That's
Right here. I got a
right.
tight end.
That's a safety, probably.
Check down. Check down.
Is Nick Bosa making the right decision by leaving Ohio State in the middle of the season?
This is fascinating. The Bosa family evidently has a pass rushing chromosome. The father was a bust with the Dolphins. One of his brothers is very good in the NFL, and now this guy might be the number 1 overall pick in the draft. He's telling you, never mind, I'm going to prepare for that draft. I'm going to treat this as a business. He has learned from his old man who runs a strip club that you make money with flesh. You do not give it away for free.
Excellent point. Worth noting that he did have an injury that resulted in surgery, and rather than working his way back from said surgery, he is choosing to be done with the season. Now, this is just an extension of what we've already seen in terms of players skipping bowl games, right? Saying that my career going forward is more important than what I've dedicated or promised to the team I'm currently on. Now, normally that would be frustrating, and I'm sure it still is for the coaches and teammates of their collegiate teams. But knowing what we know about how much there is to lose in a full career based on a bowl game or the end of a season, it makes complete sense that he would do this. What I'm more interested in is less about Bosa, but what this might do to other players who suffer an injury mid-season, early in a season, who may look at him and say, not worth it. It's not worth trying to come back for the end of the season or a bowl game. I'm just going to work toward the NFL.
You know who is reading this story and laughing?
Who's that?
Freaking Ike.
Bosa's going to end up playing for them somehow this
Right.
year in the championship game.
Are the Sixers a legitimate threat to the Celtics this season?
This is an interesting question because the Sixers, very raw, very young, got wiped out by a Celtics team in the playoffs last year that didn't have Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward, and is now adding Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward to what we know is a very well-coached basketball team. But I would say that Ben Simmons and Markelle Fultz and Joel Embiid have more room for improvement as younger players to close some of that gap with the talent that Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward are bringing. Now, Toronto is being ignored here. I don't know why Toronto is being ignored here. They shouldn't be ignored here because they're a different team with Kawhi Leonard. But absolutely, Philadelphia, if they get the kind of growth from those 3 players that we're expecting to see, they can do as well as the Celtics adding their injured players.
I think we're ignoring the Raptors because tonight the Sixers and Celtics are playing, and the producers of this show only have the creativity of what's directly in front of them.
No vision.
So that's what they're thinking about right now because that's what's on the schedule. That being said, yeah, you add Kawhi to the Raptors, that absolutely changes the way things look in the East, but it still feels like you get back those guys that were injured last year, and the Celtics are absolutely the team with the most pressure, absolutely the team to beat. What's interesting about the Sixers is that they were already ahead of the game last year and took a bigger step than anyone expected, so will they do the same this year? If Ben Simmons' shot gets better, if Markelle Fultz, instead of becoming a liability, becomes the equivalent of what he was, which is a number 1 draft pick, this could be a very exciting and different Sixers team if they do as much in the offseason this year as they did the year before in terms of taking steps forward.
Well, I know another team that nobody's mentioned that can win these.
Oh boy.
I'm telling you, they're hot. They're still moving some pieces around. You know, the Godfather is going to come through and going to surprise everybody. You know, he's going to pull a rabbit out of his hat, and he's going to throw 6 or 7 rings on the table, you know, and he's going to make magic. And that team is the Miami Heat. That's right.
In case you didn't know.
Suspense was killing me.
You got a Godfather, you got a rabbit, you got a hat. Who else was
No,
it
I
going
think
to
it
be?
was a rabbit out of his head. I think that's a saying.
I
He pulled a
don't know.
rabbit out of his head.
It's a poor form for Dodgers fans to boo Yasmani Grandal.
Okay, nice. My father with the little fluorescent flourish there on the Hispanic name right in his wheelhouse. The rare name right in his wheelhouse because he's Cuban, he's from Miami, and he's the worst postseason catcher ever. In one game, he had 2 errors and 2 pass balls, and we hadn't arrived at the 4th inning yet. I would understand why it is that the Dodgers would be frustrated by a catcher that cannot catch.
Yeah, listen, I understand the frustration, and I even understand for the fans, feeling like there aren't any moments to cheer, to make that home field advantage put to work because things aren't going very well. There's nothing to cheer for. But that doesn't mean you take all that energy that you haven't been able to use and boo your own player, because what do you think? He's not trying? It's not important to him that your boos are somehow going to make him play better? Do you think that Orlando Arcia is trying harder and that's why he has 3 home runs in the series when he had 3 the entire year? Do you think that's just you try harder and somehow you play better in the postseason? I hate when people boo their own teams. I don't think it's going to make him any better. I'm not saying he's going to play better if you yell nice things at him either, but it's not helping, and I just think it's a bad look. Don't pile on the poor guy.
So he had a rough night, big deal, you know. The Dodgers, people forget, the fans forget that they went 0 for 10 with runners in a scoring position. Or why don't you boo the whole team? You know, pick on a little guy like that behind the plate. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's what's wrong with the Dodgers fan. You know what I mean? They pick on one guy behind the plate, and then everybody else gets a free pass.
They're not booing enough people. That's the problem.
0 for 10 with runners in a scoring position. You know, 0 for 10, not 5, 6, 2, 3. 0 for 10. You know, that's right.
10.
That's right.
He mentioned it so right 10 times.
Coming up next on Highly Questionable.
Here's the first one.
What?
That's right.